Hi, and welcome to Inspection Certification Associates course on Wind Mitigation Inspections. This is Module 1 of 2 modules. This is Form OIR B1-1802, last revised in 2012. When you enrolled for this course, this was emailed to you, so if you haven't already printed this out, please stop the course and print this out right now because you're definitely going to need it so you can refer to it as we go through the course. If for some reason you can't find your email, or if it's just easier, you can download it directly from the ICA website. Just go back to the additional reference section on the main course screen. Here's what we'll be talking about in the Wind Mitigation Inspection course. We'll begin with what exactly is wind mitigation. We'll take a brief look at the inspection process just to get you started in this thing, and then we'll move right into performing the inspection, including the areas and components inspected, specific inspection techniques, and how to complete the form. So what exactly is wind mitigation? As I'm sure you understand, hurricane-force winds enter homes through poorly sealed openings, gaps around windows, anywhere they can get in, and they increase pressure and cause uplift forces on the roof, which obviously is a very bad thing. Rainwater is also driven in through these gaps around windows and doors, also driven in through attic vents, wall penetrations, gaps in the siding, and of course that's going to cause mold and rot and a lot of other damage. In Florida, hurricane season is from June 1st through November 30th, but of course hurricanes or heavy tropical storms can occur at almost any time. So wind mitigation is the process of strengthening or hardening an existing home to prevent or minimize damage from hurricane-force winds. In the wind mitigation process, some components are added, others are replaced. Specifically, windows and doors can be replaced in an older home to bring them up with current codes. So the idea of wind mitigation for an older home is to bring the home much closer to current Florida building codes. And absolutely, older homes can be retrofitted to minimize damage. Newer homes should already have mitigation techniques in place because they've been built to more modern codes. I know a lot of you taking this course have a background in residential construction, so perhaps you've done some of this work. And that brings us to the whole point of taking this course: learning about the wind mitigation inspection process. If you own a home in Florida, and I know that many of you taking this course do own a home there, then you're probably already somewhat familiar with this process. Homeowners get a uniform mitigation verification inspection, which is what the proper name is for the wind mitigation inspection process, and that helps to reduce your insurance premiums. The inspection will either provide the house with discounts, sometimes substantial discounts on the insurance policy, or it'll tell the homeowner that their home was built to older codes, might take greater hurricane damage than properly mitigated homes, and gives the homeowner a chance to not only reduce their insurance premiums by getting certain work done, but will save them from a lot of heartache because their home will take a lot less damage the next time we have a major hurricane. There are 7 main categories reviewed on a wind mitigation inspection. Each one of these is independent of the others and can qualify for insurance premium credits or discounts on their own merit. The wind mitigation inspection can provide discounts but not penalties because the initial insurance premium is quoted on the age of the house and the building codes from the time the home was built. So in other words, when they quote your insurance, they start high and then they bring it down based on the wind mitigation inspection report. And again, I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with that process. Now, the whole concept of wind mitigation and insurance premiums started to get heavily discussed by the Florida legislature after Hurricane Andrew back in 1992. If you were in Florida at that time, well, I'm sure, hopefully you weren't in the southern part of the state where Hurricane Andrew completely devastated areas south of Miami. But there was an awful lot of discussion at the time of insurance companies completely pulling out of the state and no longer insuring properties. So the state legislature felt like they had to start doing something, and 1992 then is sort of the beginning of this whole process. The actual concept of insurance mitigation credits or discounts didn't start until 10 years later in 2002 with a report from the Florida Department of Community Affairs. From 2006 to 2009, the state of Florida funded the My Safe Florida Home program. You're probably familiar with this. That provided free mitigation inspections and matching grants of up to $5,000 per home for homes that met certain criteria. Beginning in 2007, property insurers were required to send Form OIR B1-1655, better known as the Notice of Premium Discounts for Hurricane Loss Mitigation. They started to send that to all of their policyholders. And in the same year, OIR, which is really the Office of Insurance Regulation, OIR adopted Form OIR B1-1802, the Uniform Mitigation Verification Inspection Form, which is what we're learning here. And that is used by qualified inspectors to verify wind mitigation techniques on a home so the property insurer can calculate the appropriate discounts for the homeowner. So who can legally complete a wind mitigation inspection? Well, licensed home inspectors can, but only after completing a Florida Construction Industry Licensing Board licensed wind mitigation training class. And that's exactly what you're doing right now. Certified building code inspectors can complete the form. Licensed general building or residential contractors can do the inspection to complete the form. Licensed engineers can. Licensed architects, employees of engineers or contractors. So let's be clear about this. Whether you have an inspector working for you now, or if you're a brand new home inspector going through all this for the first time, if you hire an employee inspector later, remember, as a licensed home inspector, you cannot have employees do these inspections. Only employees of engineers or contractors can do these inspections. And finally, any other entity or individual recognized by an insurance company as being qualified. So basically, because you're really doing this inspection for the benefit of a homeowner, but also for the benefit of the insurer, the insurance company can kind of call the rules here. And that's why, by law, the insurer can send out anybody they feel is qualified to do the inspection and complete Form 1802. So again, as I said, you're doing this for the benefit of the homeowner and the insurer. You're doing it for the benefit of the homeowner because if they have everything they need to qualify for the credits, well, then doing the inspection is of benefit to them. But on the other hand, if the home is older, hasn't been upgraded to current codes, well, then this whole process is really of benefit for the insurance company because they will charge a higher rate. But as I said, the report can still help the homeowner even if they have an older home, because at least they'll be aware of the inherent weaknesses of their home. They'll have a chance to remedy those if they choose to. Now, when you set up a time for wind mitigation inspection, the client, and when I say client here, I really mean the homeowner. Client and the homeowner typically is the same thing for your purposes. They're the ones that are going to be paying you for the inspection. And in most cases, the client will live in that house. Certainly there will be times when you are working for an investor who does not live in that house but rents it to someone else. But either way, client and homeowner will mean the same thing. So when you set up the time for the inspection, the client should absolutely be advised to have all copies of all related documents that you're going to need to see. And that includes any copies of building permits or roofing permits or invoices. And we're going to cover all this stuff in much greater detail later in the course of the types of documents you're going to need to see. But the time to tell the client that you need these documents is not when you show up at the home, but when you set up that appointment. So when you're talking to them on the phone, you say, I'm going to be there next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Tell them you need all this stuff so they have time to look for it. Otherwise, it will really delay your process in getting this inspection completed and getting the form done. A typical on-site inspection of the home takes 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes a bit longer depending on the size of the home and the circumstances. And again, this is why you want to tell the client to have all that paperwork ready so that when you show up, they're ready to go and you're not standing around waiting for them while they're digging through boxes and file cabinets. Now, the time you spend on site, typically that's for inspecting the attic, roof, doors, and windows. You take photographs, you take measurements, you review documents, but generally you'll complete the report off-site back at your office. Now, these are the items that you'll be inspecting during the site visit. Roof coverings, secondary water resistance, the roof geometry, in other words, the shape of the roof, because we really want these to be a hip roof, roof deck attachment, roof to wall attachment, opening protection, whether that means the openings are covered with shutters or the glass is impact resistant, and openings include windows, skylights, and garage doors. And finally, detached buildings without any living space, in other words, like sheds, these are typically excluded from the mitigation inspection process. So graphically, here's what you're going to be inspecting. The type of roof covering and the age to a certain degree, because if the roof is worn out, you're going to put that on your report. However, this is not a home inspection, and if the roof is in decent condition, you're not really there scrutinizing it for defects. You're really just simply looking at the type of roof covering so you can get it on the report. Roof duct attachment means how the sheathing is attached to the rafters or trusses. Secondary water resistance is something that should be underneath the primary roof covering. That's usually hard to inspect. We'll talk about that in the second module. And your openings, windows, doors, and so forth. Roof to wall connection over at the left side of that slide. That's specifically talking about how the rafters or trusses are secured to the top plate or the bond beam of the home. And finally, we're looking at the roof geometry. And as I said in the last slide, we really want these to be a hip roof because that shape is most resistant to hurricane force winds. So we do a lot of work when we're up in the attic. A lot of mitigation features are verified up there. So what you see in these pictures we'll be talking about as we go through the rest of this module and module 2. Now, generally speaking, inspectors will inform the client of the results in the inspection while they're still there, and they'll suggest some ways to improve if there are any ways to improve and perhaps qualify for a better premium discount. So this isn't something where you have a huge consultation with them, but you certainly spend a few minutes going over the report, or at least what's going to be on the report. Now, either before or after the inspection, there's going to be some permit research you're going to have to do, unless you get lucky and the client has all that documentation. But generally speaking, don't count on the client to have copies of permits. You're going to have to do that research on your own, and again, either before or after the inspection. Most inspection reports are delivered to the client within 24 hours. A lot of inspectors will also forward a copy to the client's insurance agent if the client would like you to do that. You don't have to do that. Really, you only have to deliver the report to the party that is paying you, but it's certainly a nice customer service if you want to send a copy to the insurance agent as well.